Hello my lovely friends, my name is Ava and today I'm going to be recommending some small town romances. I have a few previous rec videos with this trope, so I will link those down below if you want even more recommendations. I don't even know what video we're on, maybe like 5 for all I know. So yeah, here are a bunch more small town romances to recommend to y'all. Small town romances are a big subgenre nowadays in the romance community. It has been for quite a few years now, and they are so fun. Granted, I've lived in a small town before. I can attest that small towns aren't really like this, especially small towns in Texas don't give this like cute charm where everyone like freaking loves each other. Like, that doesn't exist and it's so sad. Like, I want to live in Stars Hollow. Like, please. The first one that I have is Arrogant Devil by R.S. Gray. The hero in this book is a rancher and the heroine is a big city girl. I'm not gonna spoil as to why, but she ends up winding up on his ranch and having to help out, and he gives her the worst chores and things imaginable to try and get her off of his ranch, to drag her away, to run her away, and she's being very adamant about staying put. But there's a specific reason why, you'll figure out when you read the book, but man, if you love a gruff, grumpy rancher man, kind of cowboy vibes, I think you could classify him as a cowboy. The audiobook for this one is also amazing. I loved it. The hero's grandmother in here, top freaking notch, made me laugh my butt off. But yeah, this ranch that this book takes place in, it is in a small town. The heroine does come from the city, so I do love that dynamic of country boy, city girl. I think it's really fun. Next, I have a whole series. Let me grab them. So we have the Lovelight Farms series by B.K. Borison. These are so good. If you have not read these books yet, you need to. I mean, it's perfect time, okay? Because the first book takes place on a Christmas tree farm in this small town, okay? So yeah, let's just go in order. You can read these in any order that you'd like. I do recommend reading them in order though, because the side characters that have their main stories in the later books originate in book number 1 and so on, right? The heroine of this one owns the Christmas tree farm in this small town, and it's at danger for going under, but she sees this contest online that this influencer is like putting together to enter for her to come visit your business and promote it on her socials. She fills out the form to enter herself in, but she doesn't really have any like catching incentive for this woman to come to her farm, so she kind of lies, not really thinking that anyone would pick her, but lies and says that she runs this Christmas tree farm with her, I think fiance. I think she said fiance, if not boyfriend. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She does not have a fiance. And guess what? Her farm is one of the places that the influencer chooses. She's like, well, crap. So enter our hero, who is her best friend, who pretends to be her fiance for the time that this woman is touring their Christmas tree farm. And the small town gets roped into this as well because they finally think that they're together now, and they're like, yes, I've been rooting for this all along. And they're like, they have to feed into this facade in order for this woman not to know what's going on. This is a great friends to lovers romance. I loved it. It's a great start to a great series. If you love Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, you need to read this series, please. Book number 2 is In the Weeds. This is actually the heroine who was the influencer from book number 1. She actually is really disliking her life at the moment and is not happy with anything. And so she asks herself, when was the last time I was truly happy? And you know what? It was on that Christmas tree farm in that small town. So I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna drop everything, not go online at all, just go to this farm. That's what she does, and she bumps back into Beckett, who is our hero, one of the town grumps, if not the town grump. Think of like Luke from Gilmore Girls. He doesn't own a diner though, sorry. But he has a lot of animals he has begrudgingly started taking care of. He is so stinking cute. I love a grumpy, gruff man who is such a softie on the inside, but you don't know it. Anyway, they actually hooked up months prior, before she even came to the Christmas tree farm. They like bumped into each other, I think at a bar, and like hooked up and has not seen each other since, until she showed up in book number 1, right? So yeah, it's kind of like a second chance kind of situation. This is a lot of people's favorite in the series. Book number 3 is Mixed Signals. So the heroine of this one also works on this Christmas tree farm, but she has her own like business on the farm. She has a bakery, and as a baking girly, I loved that aspect in here. This book starts out with her in the next town over so that no one in her small town can see her on a date, but she goes on a date with a man she met on a dating app, and it's not great at this bar. Like, she's at this bar, it's not going well, he leaves, and she bumps into Caleb, who is a guy that's around her age that also is from this small town. She's like, well, what are you doing in this town? He's like, what are you doing in this town? She's like, well, I'm on a date. And he's like, doesn't seem to be going well. And so they confide in each other, talking about how dating is absolutely awful. And they decide to date each other to figure out what the other person is lacking when it comes to dating, to like give each other pointers. So it's kind of like a fake dating for all intensive purposes. Everyone in the town thinks that they're actually dating. And one of my favorite scenes is in this book. The heroine is going to have this, I think like food critic come to her bakery, and the night before the critic comes, she's baking away, right? But then the power goes out and she loses so many of her baked goods because they got spoiled. And the hero tasks and asks everyone around town to help her, like literally runs himself to the bone dead tired in order to make sure that this works for her and that this will be a successful day. That made me melt. That scene, I think about it all the time. And the last book in this series is Business Casual, and this one is a grumpy sunshine where the heroine is kind of like the black cat and the hero is the golden retriever sunshiny hero. The heroine has come back to the small town. I forgot to tell you the name of it is Inglewild. Anyway, to open up a tattoo parlor. She's a tattoo artist, and at the beginning of this book she's at a wedding, I think for one of the previous couples in this series if I'm not mistaken, and she decides to hit on Charlie, our hero. She has been lusting over this man and she's like, you know what, I need to get him out of my system. I'm gonna ask him to have a hookup with me at this wedding. But they both cannot just have one night, okay? That opens up a whole can of worms for them. I absolutely adore this series. If you have not read these yet, please do. They are so fun. They're like the quintessential series for small town romance lovers. So if you love this trope and you have not read these books yet, what are you doing with your life? Next, I have The Wreckage of Us by Brittany Cherry. This one has a lot going on in here, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But the heroine, she's, I think, just graduated high school, if I'm not mistaken, or she's in her younger 20s. Her drug-dealing stepdad kicks her out of the house and she has nowhere else to go. She ends up squatting in this abandoned barn on this guy Ian's property, and he ends up finding her in there and making her a deal where she will work on the farm and he'll give her a place to stay. Well, more so his grandfather proposes this idea because it's his grandfather's farm, but Ian is like begrudgingly agreeing to it as well. Anyway, she is very much biker chick looking-esque and he is country boy. So if you like that dynamic, I would recommend this one. But there's a lot of emotion going in here, a lot of familial hardships going on on her end specifically. And also I forgot to mention too, the hero is a part of a band. So if you love a man in a band, play this one up. Brittany loves to write about a man in a band. I'm not kidding. I do have to mention another Brittany book. So I have The Problem with Dating. If you love Savor It by Tara DeWitt, I'd recommend this one. Actually, that's a book that I'm going to talk about later, but we can just talk about them together because they give off the same like vibes somewhat. They're not similar like at all, but if you like one, I feel like you'll like the other, you know, like the trope, like if you like this, you'll read this, you know. So The Problem with Dating, we'll start with this one. So the hero Alex is new to town and the heroine is kind of like the town like sunshine, ray of sunshine, you know what I mean? She is kind of like also the dog whisperer. She takes care of the dogs in the shelter. Alex is having a pretty rough time because he has been sent to open up this very fine dining restaurant in this small town where no one in the town wants him. There's even a point in this book where I think multiple times people vandalize his building because they do not want him there. They're like, we don't need some hoity-toity French restaurant over here, okay? We do not need this. So the hero's having a really hard time making sure that this business will stay afloat. He's like, it's gonna fail even before it opens because of how these people are reacting to my restaurant. He meets the heroine, okay, and she is the complete opposite of him. It's very much grumpy sunshine, right? He also inherited this dog from his great aunt, I want to say, and he's having a really hard time with it. And then he learns about the heroine, that she can help him. Anyway, she needs a fake date to get her ex-husband off of her back because he's not being the nicest, okay? So she needs a fake boyfriend. He needs a better relationship with his dog, and he also needs a better relationship with the people in the town. So if people in the town find out that he is dating the Miss Popular from the town, right? Like, things will surely get better, right? One that is similar that I'd recommend is Savor It by Tara DeWitt. We have another chef coming into a small town, so that's why it's kind of similar to me. The heroine owns and runs this farm with cute little animals. She's like Jess from New Girl, but if she owned a farm with a bunch of animals. She's also a teacher. She's goofy. She's funny. She says literally anything that comes into her brain. Like, I love her. So the hero ends up acquiring the house, like staying in the house in the property next door to hers with his niece that he recently got custody of, his teenage niece. Anyway, he really wants to open this restaurant in this town. In the small town, we have another problem of these townsfolk not wanting some hoity-toity restaurant in their home style small town. These two characters kind of get in cahoots together to work out a deal. I'm not gonna spoil it, but they kind of like help each other out in certain aspects, and it's hot, it's fun. I just kept picturing, based on this cover, I kept picturing like Pedro Pascal as our hero. But yeah, if you like one of these books or the other, I recommend the other one because they give off similar vibes. Then I have Dukes and Deeks by Tori Jean, one of my favorites, one of my favorite authors. Obviously, this book takes place in a small town. It's where our heroine lives. She is a huge Jane Austen fanatic, Jane Austen lover. I love her for that. And she's actually the person who runs this Jane Austen festival that happens once a year in their small town. There'll be like pop-up booths and whatnot, all Jane Austen themed. There's also even characters, kind of like think like Disney characters, people who dress up like certain Jane Austen characters and will walk around the fair. Two people she hired to play Lydia and Wickham this year actually fell in love in real life and ran off together. So she's like, crap, I don't have a Lydia and I don't have a Wickham. What am I gonna do? So she decides, you know what, I'll play Lydia. I don't have anyone else to play Lydia. Her brother's best friend, who's also in proxy her best friend as well, is in town because he recently got benched for his hockey season. You figure out why, but it's not great. But he's like, I have nothing better to do. Like, I'll help you. Not really knowing what he's signing up for in playing Wickham. So yeah, they kind of fall for each other while they're playing these characters at this Jane Austen festival. There's a lot of amazing fall vibes in here. Tension, angst, like longing glances. Oh, I love it. There's also amazing representation in here for endometriosis. Own voices, by the way. So if you're wanting something like that, please pick up this book. Next, I have Tide by Carian. I think I mentioned Torn, the first book in this series, in a previous rec video, so we're not going to be talking about Tide. It takes place in the same small town as Torn did. So this one, if you're wanting something a little darker, a little more emotional, I'd recommend this one because a lot of small town romances are more lighthearted and fun and cheerful. This one definitely touches on darker topics. The heroine, when she was younger, was kidnapped by some man in this town and was kept underground. He built her this pit, dug this pit in the woods and kept her there for a very long time. And our hero, who is, I want to say like maybe like a decade and a half older than her, or 2 decades, I can't remember, but there is an age gap in there. Anyway, he comes across this girl in the pit in the woods and is like, oh my God. He does not speak, by the way. When policemen come, they think it's him who kidnapped this girl and did these things to her. He can't tell them what the situation is that happened. Anyway, they end up putting 2 and 2 together that that's not actually him. They let him go. And this book takes place years later when the heroine, I believe, is 19, if I'm not mistaken. She doesn't really remember a lot about what happened to her when she was younger, when she was kidnapped, but she does remember a prince saved her, who was our hero. She's like, I need to find this prince. I also forgot to mention too, when she was kidnapped, the evil man who kidnapped her also had a dog and had its vocal cords severed so that the dog couldn't bark and like out them in the pit. So she was with this dog. Anyway, when she was rescued, the dog ran away. And she's like, I want to find my prince and my dog. She actually is like roaming the woods one day and finds her dog, and the dog leads her back to her prince, and they kind of come back in contact again, and it's about them falling in love with each other. And wow, this one is somewhat emotionally draining. If you're not into an emotional gut punch of a book, I don't know if I'd recommend this one, but it is so worth it. It's a book that's worth it. A fan favorite that I need to mention really fast is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, or this whole series. I've only read Done and Dusted, so that's the only one I have to recommend. I read this one a long time ago, like right when it came out as an indie book. Before it got picked up. So it's been a hot minute, but I'm pretty sure the heroine used to be like a professional barrel racer, and she's been having a hard time, and she goes back to her small town where she comes in contact with our hero again while she's staying on her family's ranch, and things spark up between them. But this one is like very well known. If you have not heard about this one either, I'd recommend it if you love a good small town cowboy romance. If you're wanting something a little different, I have Wolfsong by TJ Klune. This is a paranormal wolf shifter romance. This whole series takes place in Green Creek, which is a small town, and each book in the series is a werewolf shifter MM romance, and they are so good. So good. I just also can't get over these new covers. They're absolutely stunning. Okay, so I will stop and I'll mention what this book is about. Ox is one of our main characters. He is the older of the two that I'm going to talk about. Anyway, he's walking home one day in this small town. He's been ridiculed and bullied his entire life because of the way that he speaks and his mannerisms. Anyway, he's walking home one day and he comes across this young boy named Joe, who just will not shut up for all intents and purposes, so is talking his ear off and is like, hey, you want to come meet my family? We just moved in down the road. And Ox is like, okay, why not? Joe brings him to his home with his family, not knowing that Joe and his entire family are wolf shifters. When he shows up, Joe's parents kind of reveal to him, like, what did you do? Because Joe has not spoken, and I want to say like a few years he has not spoken, or months. I could be exaggerating. He has not spoken in a long time. Okay, like, what did you do to make him speak? And he's like, I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? So this takes place in time chunks and years of Joe and Ox falling in love and maybe figuring out that they're mates, and Ox finding out about werewolves. Like, ugh. This series is magical. It's beautiful. Please pick it up. The last one I have to mention is a novella. It does take place during, I think, the 4th of July. So if that's not really your vibe, maybe save it for the 4th of July. This is Liberty Falls by Lee Jaquo. This is a short and sweet novella. Lee Jaquo's books normally are. If you need a book, a novella for a specific holiday that you want, Lee Jaquo has you covered. She has like literally any single novella that you can think of that's hot and spicy and fun. Did I mention hot? That has to do with a holiday of some sort. Not all of her books are like that, but she has a lot of books like that. She even has a Mother's Day one. Okay, anyway, so Liberty Falls, our two characters have been flirting hardcore for a while, and they both have their own respective charity booths during like the 4th of July fair or whatever, and they're trying to, whoever raises the most money has to do something. I can't remember, but it's like a bet, and he is a fireman, by the way. That's what got the heart pitter-pattering. Okay, fireman hero. So anyway, that's short and sweet. You can deduce what will happen in that little novella. Anyway, so you have it. Those were some small town romance recommendations. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books or if you plan to. And if you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me, let's do a house emoji in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank y'all so much for watching. I will see y'all soon in my next one. Bye y'all.
Oh, and I keep finding dog ears that you left in my books. Miss your hate, can I just crash over? Guess you crashed in like a tsunami. Woke up next to you so hungover, sunlight painted stripes on your